All right, so recently I decided it was time for me to change my arrow system and broadhead system over for my APA. I've been shooting this bow for about 8 years now. It's been a great setup, no maintenance, just it's been a wonderful bow. I couldn't be happier with it. What has changed though is I find that because I'm running a pin setup of 30 to 70 yards and I hunt almost entirely on the ground, not from a stand, I was dealing with wind, I was dealing with up and down, and I was also dealing with bigger animals at longer ranges. I'm mostly hunting mountain goats, sheep, moose, elk. I wanted an arrow that was a little bit heavier, had a little bit more downrange hitting power, and wasn't affected by the wind. So after my research online, love my research online, and I went into Wholesale Sports, into the archery department as always, and talked with manager Sean Ashley, and we discussed a few different arrows because there's a huge selection there. We decided I was going to go with the Easton Full Metal Jackets with an 11.3 grams per inch. These were a heavier arrow. I felt like the straightness, the whole setup was going to give me a little bit more downrange hitting power. I'm topping them with the G5 Montecs. I really liked what really sold me on the Montecs. I do like the cut on impact, but it was a deflection test I saw online through a sheet of plywood, and they performed unbelievably. So again, being on the ground all the time, I want to make sure I'm getting that penetration. So I got Sean to cut them professionally there. We always want to start with a true finish on our shaft before we start putting our inserts in. So the following video is just me at home on the bench showing you guys the way I set up my arrows. I'm not saying it's right or wrong, it's just the way I do it. Thought some of you guys might be interested in seeing that. And after that, we're gonna get out on the range and do some shooting with the new FMJs. All right, so we just came back from Wholesale Sports where Sean was really helpful with us picking out our new full metal jackets here. So we've chamfered the ends of the arrow, and we've also cleaned them out with rubbing alcohol as per specs. Now, one of our things we're going to do with these is because of the hit technology, the inserts actually sit well inside of the shaft. Unlike the Carbon Express Maxima that has the insert that actually sits outside the shaft, these are going to sit inside. So instead of using the tool that's designed, these are going to be designed specifically for broadheads and for hunting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of my Montec practice heads, and I'm going to put it right onto the insert here to begin with. Okay, so I'm going to put this on, and I'm not going to put it snug, just so it's touching there, okay? I'm going to dip it in the epoxy that you guys watched me mix up. It was pretty cool, you could see it changing colors. So we're just going to put a little bit on there. Okay, onto the end. Then we're going to start it into the shaft. And I like to give it a little turn as I'm doing that and make sure that epoxy's getting all over it. Alright, now before I get to the end here, I'm going to wipe off the excess. So we're going to get rid of that little extra bit of glue. Because I'm going to leave that practice, this is one of the practice heads from Montec. What I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it on, keep turning it. I'm going to snug it right up. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up so that I have my 3 blades lined up with the fletching of my arrow. So I can just turn the arrow until my fletchings are lined up. And I'm just going to leave that dry just like that. So that's already butted right up against the end of the shaft, so I have no distance here, and so there's going to be no shock on that insert. Like I said, I'm setting these up to specifically for hunting with these broadheads, so I want as little play in them as possible. I want that insert to be as far forward as I can, and I want that head to be snug against the shaft. I don't want any play in there at all. It's going to compress it. Okay, now I have this lined up with the fletching, and I know this is maybe a little bit over the top for you guys, but so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put a 1 on there, and on this end I'm actually going to put a P1. So that's going to be my practice 1 arrow. Okay. One of the great things with Montec is with the practice heads, we can take them out and we can shoot them. We can find out how our flight is without damaging and going through the more expensive hunting heads. So what I'm going to do is I have a dozen arrows here. I'm going to put 9 heads on the Full Metal Jacket shafts right now. I'm not going to be using them for practice. They are specifically going to be set up for hunting. These will be my practice ones. You know, with so many different broadheads out there, there's a lot of great heads. The reason I've decided to go with the G5 Montec is the fact that the cut on contact, no moving parts in them, and the deflection tests that I've actually seen where they've taken the heads and shot them at a sheet of plywood at an extreme angle, almost like simulating a quartering away shot, and the Montecs actually penetrated the plywood really well. I'm a western mountain hunting guy here in BC, so one of the big things that with my setup is my pins don't normally start till 30 yards because I do take a lot of longer shots and I'm on the ground with a mule deer or an elk. So sometimes I have to take that steep quartering away shot. I do like to have the idea of having the higher deflection capabilities with the Montec. So again, I'm going to call this 2. And I'm going to call this arrow practice 2. Okay, so I have the practice arrows done, so now we're going to pull out one of the Montec. These are the CSs. These are the new carbon steel. They are a few dollars more than the regular Montecs, but we're going to give them a try. So we're just going to repeat the same process. Put some of the epoxy on the end, give them a little turn, kind of making sure that the epoxy gets into all the little grooves on that hit insert. Okay, it's kind of, see it's eating up that glue. Right to the end. I'm gonna line it up with the fletchings, and we're just gonna call that flat out 1. So this is my number 1 arrow. So this fall when I'm on my archery stone sheep and grizzly bear hunt, hopefully number 1 is gonna find a home. Next stop, we'll be ready for the range.